WEF representing Palace, so let's tell you about Palace. Rolling straight to the ceiling, crowns and crystals, top like journeys, dishing out malice. Hold up, South London's grandest, far from bandits. Anything earned for a goal of elevation, just passing the team over here might finish like bright future, we can't vanish. SE25 any day, that's sellers. Rev up the engines, no more reverse reactions, fan cams, bands on stream. Share up the team, support the dream team when Eagles fly, make noise and scheme. Dare to dream or dream to dare, taking a step to become supreme.
Good evening, everyone. Hope you're well. Hope you're doing good, and hope you're enjoying your Sunday. It's the last bit of freedom I have before I go back to school tomorrow, unfortunately. I'll just put out there. This is the end of season review. One of 3 back-to-back streams that we'll be doing. Tomorrow is Transfer Weekly Live, and then Tuesday will be Tat Eagle. To review the season. So, Dan, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm all good. Just been chilling today. Just having a nice Sunday. And you know what? I'm now. I think I'm still. I mean, I'm still. You know, I'm still very, 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 very gassed that we won the FA Cup. And I'm really enjoying all the comments on Twitter. Every time I see anyone say anything, "War a trophy, Brighton! War a trophy, Brighton!" And I've just been enjoying that, to be honest.
Absolutely, Nicky.
Yeah, I've been enjoying my Sundays, like Dan said. A bit of Football Manager, bit of the Spanish Grand Prix. Yeah, nice little Sunday with no football. It's weird. Champions League final last night. Blimey, what again that was. Big up PSG. Trophy droughts are ending all over the place this year. Man, PSG with their first Champions League trophy, so big up to them. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's the end of the season. Why? Can we keep going, please?
Chairman?
Yeah, I'm all good. Yeah, I spent Sunday in the garden. There's no truth in the rumour that I watched the FA Cup final again on Saturday, but I did. But why not? Why not? But yeah, you gotta live long in the memory, wouldn't it?
100%. And obviously 2 representatives from back in the nest. Tim.
Yeah, I'm great. Great morning. I went through my traditional make my French toast and watched the replay of the FA Cup final.
Yeah.
Got myself watch the goal gets better every time. Yeah, so no, great.
And lastly, Patrick, big up to him. He just had a kick about himself, so he's knackered.
I'm good. I'm good, man. Just a little tired at a game this morning, but like everybody else, I watched at least the highlights of the match every single day since the final, and I continue to do that. I'm not watching anything else for the rest of my life, probably. So yeah, I'm good.
No, honestly, we've put a survey in the chat, so feel free to obviously put your votes down. Just we'll come back to that survey a bit later on in the stream. Also, massive bit of notice. You see, there's no JC here at the moment. They are at the maternity ward as it stands, so obviously we're wishing JC and Reed the absolute best of luck regarding the birth of the upcoming bundle of joy. So yeah, we made the executive decision midweek to tell JC, don't come on any streams for the next couple of weeks. He was like, what, I've been fired? Like, yes, you have.
Has been put on early paternity leave. Yep.
Yeah. The funny thing about it, I don't think he was happy. He's here in the chat. He goes, I got sacked. No, but obviously, those who are obviously fathers, it's so important. That first month or so is just so key, so key. So please
life changing, sure, life changing.
Enjoy all of it. But thank you for obviously your work behind the scenes with like prepping things regarding like thumbnails and all of that. We really do appreciate that. Let's get into it. Let us kick it off. That I've sent. I think Patrick, I sent you the talking points as well. I hope I did. If I didn't, apologies. If I haven't, I'll send it to you now. But we're going to start off with last summer's transfer window because I think it kind of set the precedent for potentially the beginning of the season. I know we were not happy whatsoever with just the timing of how everything unfolded. We'll start with you, Patrick. Like, what would you make looking back at the summer transfer window last season?
Oh,
Uh-oh.
uh-oh. Where have you gone, Patrick?
Oh, no.
Okay, for a split second, I thought it was me.
But what happened?
You froze for a second there,
I
Patrick.
think, yeah, your connection.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, but I was transfer window as much as other people were. I understand Palace do things late all the time. I get that. I mean, but again, we did got Riyadh came in pretty early. Far was in pretty early. Obviously, Olise leaving was the biggest out, and that we couldn't do anything about that with the obviously release clause. And I was really worried about Gahey leaving at the same time. Me personally, I mentioned it quite a few times. I thought we were going to lose someone. I chose Anderson over Gahey every time because I thought Anderson wasn't as valuable to the way we played as Gahey was, and it turned out to be correct. Getting Aquara in as an Anderson placement was brilliant. But I think the biggest thing for us wasn't the transfer window; it was the players that came back late from international duty. You know, Gahey, Henderson, Eze, Munoz, Lerma, Richard. You know, they were all playing Wharton. They were all playing, and some of them came back injured. So for me, the transfer window didn't bother me as much. It really was the players coming late, and that's the same thing Gardner said. Gardner made a very good point. Yes, the transfers weren't great as far as timing with Chalobah and those guys coming at the last day, but I think the biggest issue was the international duty, and that thing that hurt us how start the season more than anything else.
Yeah, to caveat that, seeing as if like you would think clubs will kind of like preempt. I'm just speculating here. Seven players, 7 or 8 players made major finals tournaments. For me personally, I'm still disappointed that we didn't kind of expect the worst case scenario, if that makes sense. We kind of left Glasgow quite thin. Like, what's your thoughts?
But what could you have really done? I mean, and I also forgot to mention Mateta. Obviously, Mateta was part of the France team to the Olympics. I don't know what you can do. I mean, one, they all made the final, right? Because Mateta made the Olympic final, Lerma and Munoz made the
Nations
South
League.
American final, the Nations, right? Richards, did they make the final? I know they didn't win. None of
They
them
didn't
won. I
make
know
the
that.
final, but he was in it.
Right.
You're right.
Right,
Yeah.
and obviously the Euros, Wharton, Eze, Gahey, Henderson, Walls, they all made the final loss. So I'm not sure how you can plan for that. Again, I just think that the biggest, because what are you going to bring in? You're not going to bring in 10 players. We brought in Saar, Riyadh, obviously brought in Chalobah, Nketiah late, Lacroix. Turner came in as a late load. I'm not sure, honestly, Rich, what you could have done to avoid that. Again, I think if you look back on it, a lot of teams that had players in those finals ended up having slow starts. It's just that Palace had so many players. I mean, we're talking about players that were in, again, 4 different finals. Again, none of them won, but were in 3 different finals, at least Euros, the American one, and obviously the Olympics. I'm not sure what, and if at least they stayed, he'd have been in the final too. So I'm not really sure what you could have done to avoid that. I honestly think that the way we came out and the way we started was the best we could have hoped for, in lieu of the fact that, again, so many of them came back. I mean, Mateta came back and got off to a very slow start. As Wharton was injured, obviously, and that dragged on until November, so we figured out he was injured. As they got off to a slowish start, Henderson was fine. But I just think that, honestly, the fact that there were so many major finals in the same summer, which, by the way, is very rare. You really have a Euros, Olympics, and the North American final, South American final in the same summer. So that was like this summer. There were no finals going on this year except for the Club World Cup. So for me, that was such an outlier that, to credit to Glasgow, I think did a great job keeping us in a lot of those matches at the beginning of the season. Honestly,
What's your thoughts, Sim?
I'm gonna echo what Patrick said and then give you a stat. This is just what I always track this every year. Folks know that I like to track the finances, and so I show for the this fiscal year. So this is the current year. Everything, 98 million pounds in sales, 90.1 million in purchases. So all the things that Patrick pointed out are exactly right. Financially, we've had 2 exceptional windows, and then I would count the winter window in the prior season as 3 exceptional windows financially. That doesn't count on the pitch, obviously. You need to account for all these other things that Patrick was talking about. So ideally, what we would do is do as much business as we could early, as conservatively as we could do it, keeping with the club model. And by the way, Glasner has said he wants to keep with the club model. And I think that is very, very good. But yeah, everything that Patrick said about the slow start to the season, I think is spot on. So for me, this next window is going to be, could we get the balance better? Could we get the balance just a little bit better? We don't want to overspend, but we definitely want to get players in earlier. I think just the balance was missing, for what it's worth.
Sure. I'll come to you now, Chairman. With that in mind, obviously, when you look at our last 2 summer windows, I think there's been a pattern of just unfortunately getting deals over the line late. Do you think this will happen the 3rd time? Because I know Glasgow was not happy at the end of the summer window last year.
No, I mean, I honestly believe I think it will, and I'll tell you why I believe that. I think it's a lot to do with the agents, and I think the agents tell their players that the later they leave it in the transfer to move, the better deal they're going to get for themselves. So I mean, yeah, we would all like to get the jobs done early, and of course we would, but when you get to sort of last week or so, and then clubs start to get a bit desperate, all of a sudden you're getting 120 grand a week and not 100, that sort of thing. And the clubs are getting 12 million, not 10 million, that sort of thing. I think the agents have got a lot to answer for doing that. Because if you notice, most clubs don't do deals early. And I think the only real early deal I can remember is when Van Dijk went to Southampton and Liverpool. But because they gave him 70 million, which was an outrageous amount of money at the time, so they took it. But I suppose, it's going to be difficult this year because we've got no Dougie this year, have we? So, and of course we're into Europe, so he's going to need 3, 4, 5 players, and I think it's going to be difficult to find so many unless they've got some players lined up. But I honestly believe it's the agents. I think the agents tell the players, yeah, you'll go, but hang on for a couple of weeks. Don't go too early. Don't seem too keen, and you'll get a better deal from yourself. And I think that's not for us. That's for everybody. But as a supporter, yeah, absolutely. You want the players over the line quickly. You want them training with the team. You want them going out on the pre-season tours and getting to know the other players. But it just doesn't seem to happen, does it?
Yeah, it's no coincidence, by the way, on that point, Chairman. It's no coincidence that the 2 big deals that have been done so far that we know about, Mateus Cunha, right?
Yeah.
Jeremy Frimpong. Both, what did they have? Release clauses.
Exactly.
That's not a surprise. That's how you get deals done early. When the price is fixed.
No, that makes
Absolutely.
sense. Then if we go through a few comments, then we'll start looking at our poor start to the season.
Big up, Dog. This time last week we drew at Anfield and JC called me big man. How time flies. Dog, did you prefer JC calling you big man or us winning the FA Cup? That's my question to you.
Tough question.
For me, the poll question all depends on the context. We'll visit that a bit later. Big up, Damo. Big up, JC. Hope you and Ree are doing good. CPFC Sean, big up yourself. Love to see Nikki cosplaying KSI. Samina, waka waka, top again. We won the FA Cup. On repeat.
It's non-stop in my head.
Is it an eagle? Big up, JC. Congrats. Stephen saying, big up, Stephen. The poll needs context. What's the team position what's the position of the team in the league? What order do the results come in? I'm assuming we're talking about like if it's beginning the season and they've come as they did this season. Glasser wanted a smaller group of players too.
Yeah, point, Mary.
Yeah, I think he likes having a cohesive squad, doesn't he? Ollie's saying, "Did you know we won the FA Cup?" Not
It
sure.
might have
Did
come up.
we?
I think it's come up a few times that we've won the FA Cup.
Jason saying the fact is we don't like to overspend on players. Yes, Nketiah is the outlier because we were desperate, but we take so long so we can get a good price for whoever we buy. I think that was a criticism that I think Glasner had of our system in the summer, and I think that was something apparently they did acknowledge. So maybe he really is David Copperfield after all. Did Nicky fall asleep at any point during the parade? And Streets is saying that he's asleep right now.
Never living that down.
I know this is an unpopular opinion, and Luke, I've already read the rest of it, so I think, yes, it is an unpopular opinion. But I reckon Edouard could be very useful for us, especially in Europe. My opinion is, I mean, we'll talk about it more in the stream tomorrow. So I'm not, stream tomorrow for the Transfer Weekly. But I think he's been discarded by Glasner, in my opinion. But I mean, we'll see. I mean, if Malcolm was in that FA Cup team, maybe. Come on, Jay-Z's lingo is legendary. Good luck with everything. Big up, Mary. And Luke, go GP quick. Yeah, I think. I think, Luke, that is a very unpopular opinion, to be honest.
Yeah. More to the point on the transfers. I mean, as well as JC just saying about we don't like to spend. I'm getting this from Transfer Market. So no player other than obviously Nketiah cost us over 20 million euros. And yeah, we got our two loanee signings, that being Turner and Chalobah. Kamada obviously came in, Riyad, Sarr, and Lacroix. I think that represents good value for money for each player. And then we obviously had to overspend to get that second striker in, obviously, because if Mateta gets injured, who do we rely on? We don't have an out and out named striker to replace him. So I think it did seem JC's exactly right on the desperation for needing Nketiah and for the price that we paid for him.
Yeah, I think that also comes into the fact that I think there was worries that Mateta might leave as well.
Yeah, there was that as well at the start of the season.
You know,
What I also add though, guys, is that if you look at the outgoings for the summer, Johnson and Ayew went for 18 million. We spent 2.5 million for those two. Obviously, Elise clause was activated, and then Anderson with 30 million. So the outgoings were really good business. I mean, I get the fact we didn't overpay, but to get Lacroix for and Sarr, we got Sarr, I believe, cost 30 million. Riyad cost 30 million. Lacroix costing 80 million. I mean, the deals that we did get, forget about overpaying for Nketiah. These deals we got, the incomings were really good, and the outgoings were excellent. I mean, the money for Anderson, honestly, we stole that money from Fulham. We really did.
Oh, we sold them a dream.
You know what? I mean, that's not even the best of the best. You want to know what the best outgoing transfer for this season was? This is my hot take.
Edouard Lowe to Leicester.
We got Sam Johnston on a free.
Right.
And sold him to Wolves for an all-in price. They had to pay it up front, £10 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is outrageous.
It is.
Considering we got Henderson for what? I think Wolves Henderson 15.
15 so, on an initial, could go to 20.
On that balance, effectively paid 5 to 10 million for Dean Henderson. I think that that is a very good bit of business.
Yeah, for sure. So that's spot on, Patrick. Absolutely.
I'll tell you what, I think those add-ons have already been paid for now, boy.
Yeah, that's true.
100%.
Right, Nicky, we obviously started the season with back-to-back defeats. Just go back to the Brentford one specifically, because it was a culmination, and this kind of summed up our beginning of the season, of poor defending, poor finishing, poor ref decisions.
Yeah.
Let's go through that Brentford game specifically, without giving you too much trauma.
Well, I made my feelings clear about the referee decision very, very clearly. Yeah. Eze not getting that goal, which was criminal, is a case of we've said it all season. And it's not just been our team that said it. It's gone across the rest of the entire league that the referees in the Premier League and in other levels of the pyramid are just dire. They are just the worst. We've seen it all across the league, going from game week 1 to game week 38, bringing up Villa and Man United's game at the end of the season. Um, I'm not surprised. Actually, no, I am surprised that Glasner didn't exactly like go off to the press conference and say and talk about the referee, but then I think that's his cool-headedness proving a point. But yeah, the game against Brentford, we don't do well against Brentford anyway. I think we were all coming off from last season's strong finish going into this one. We had a reasonably good pre-season, and yeah, I mean we didn't even score the goal. Really, it got given as an Ethan Pinnock own goal in the end. But yeah, that was just poor. It's funny going back to that point, considering how happy we are at the end of the season, to how utterly dejected we were at the start of the season.
Absolutely. I mean, sorry, I had to go shut the door, so I don't know if you already mentioned the referee's decision to blow his whistle before the free kick went in. But another telling point, like I said, was the defending. Now, Dan, I'll come to you. Obviously, at this time, we hadn't known that Joachim Andersen would potentially be on his way out. But he had a very, very poor start to the season. Do you think that's something that might have been playing on his mind? Because when you look at both goals against Brentford, he dribbled up towards the edge of the box and then couldn't get back for the first one. And the second one, I think there was like multiple deflections where he couldn't get his feet sorted out. And then Henderson made a bit of an error for Witzer to tap it in. Do you think that maybe a potential transfer was there and it played with his head, or do you just think it was just a bad day in the office?
That's a good question, actually. I think it would probably have some, obviously he would be thinking about it. I think there's no doubt about that. But to be honest, I do think. I should also highlight that he was very prone to having bad days at the office. Like you've seen some of his performances for Fulham this season. Fulham fans feel like they've been robbed. And I think
they didn't think that at the start of the season when they signed him.
Well, no, they were giving it the big one over Twitter, weren't they? But they've been humbled, as of quite a lot of teams this season. So, and I think as well, the thing is, I think Anderson is really, really good in certain aspects. Like he's aggressive. He's he's obviously got his really, really good distribution, but he just doesn't have the pace anymore, I think. And the way we play, we need defenders who are relatively quick, and that's why Lacroix works so well. And I think that Brentford game is just indicative of how he just doesn't really fit our system anymore. Obviously, like if Lacroix had a brilliant pass to him, that'd be fantastic. But I think in every other aspect, I think Lacroix is better for our system. And obviously Anderson's, I don't know how old he is, but obviously he's not getting any younger. So he's not going to get any quicker or anything like that. So I think it was just indicative of how he doesn't fit. And then when you're coming up against a Brentford side who have Johan Visser, Mbuemo, Sharda up front, as if they catch you on that counter attack, it really is squeaky bum time.
No, absolutely. I'm going to reel off the first 8 games because obviously our first win was Spurs. So the first 8 games which we hadn't won a game, 2-0 loss to Brentford, 2-0 loss to West Ham at home, then a 1-1 draw away at Chelsea, which that turned on its head after one refereeing decision, which worked in our favour, by the way. The referee not sending off Will Hayes and Glasgow quickly switching him for Czech Decore literally turned that game. 2-2 at home to Leicester when we were 2-0 down. Defensive mistakes as well. 0-0 against Man United, which I think we should have won. 2-1 defeat at Goodison, which we took the lead and they conceded some terrible goals. And then the 1-0 defeat at Liverpool, which you could say, they were better first half. We were better second. So going back to you, Patrick. As well as our defensive frailties in those first 8 games, we missed a hell of a lot of chances too. Like, what do you think caused the disparity from? And obviously, look outside of the fact that players were coming back and they weren't fit. What else do you think there was a mental barrier just because of the run of games where we weren't picking up wins?
Yeah, I was at the Leicester and United games. The Leicester game was very frustrating because I thought both goals he conceded were poor goals. One of them was when Henderson got mixed up with Gahey and Vardy scored that goal, and the second goal right at the beginning of the second half was not a great goal to concede. I honestly think that a lot of things had to do with the system we were playing. And you mentioned Anderson, that he was gone by a couple of games in, so then Lacroix came in. In fact, Lacroix actually, his first start was Leicester. I remember sitting in the main stand and people complaining about how bad Lacroix was. And he had just started his first game. He played and that game was on the right side of the 3 or the left. He wasn't playing in the centre. I remember
it was left-sided
centre back. Yeah, left side. I'm like, his first game, give the guy a break. He's just gotten into the game. I think a lot of things had to do with that. The system, the back 3 is so important. Dan mentioned the difference between Lacroix and Anderson in the system is night and day. He's better in the air. His recovery speed is ridiculous. His short passing is much better than Anderson, so he builds the ball out of the back better. So I think that had a lot to do with it. Also, the number 10 situation hadn't been resolved at that point. We didn't know how to play Sarr. I remember Sarr came on, Leicester was playing like a wing back. He actually created one of the goals when he got the penalty, but that Sarr, we couldn't figure out how to play Eze and Sarr, and Ketia was playing on as a 10. Mateta was in and out between him and Mateta, and then Ketia as the 9. It was a mess. And then obviously the biggest factor for me was Wharton. Wharton's injury was a massive, which we didn't deal with. He came back from the Euros injured. You could tell something was off with him. We hadn't settled in on what to do with him. There's that operation. Do we rest him? We tried all kinds of things, and that was a major factor. So our centre midfield wasn't thing. And then Czech Decore at that point was in and out. He just came back from that bad injury the year before. Had some good matches, had some poor matches. At that point, we weren't really using Lerma and Hughes. So there are a lot of factors that go into that start. I just think that it wasn't one thing. It was, the new players not coming in, the system, losing Olise, and how do you replace Olise? We all said you can't replace Olise, but funny enough, we did. By the end of the season, Sarr made, I don't care, no one's mentioned Olise by the last 10 games, the last half of the season, no one mentioned Olise being gone, which is amazing. As good a player as Olise is, we didn't mention how Sarr, as a right-footed number 10, the speed that he brought in, the ability to cross and create chances, just changed the way we played. And credit to Glasner getting him to play that way. So those first games were weird. Just a lot of things winning. It wasn't just poor defending. It was. I know someone might have mentioned before. Yeah, our XG all season we underperformed, and beginning of the year we missed a lot of chances. We created a lot more chances. We should have scored a lot more goals. We weren't converting our chances. So it was a very strange start to the season, and I know that people were saying, Glasner had this, Glasner that, changed the formation, but I always had faith in Glasner because if you watch him over the years, he always finds a way to make players better. And at the end of the season, you see how he made, as an example, Sarr into a phenomenal number 10. Mateta obviously kept playing well. Lacroix was great in the back. Daniel Munoz became a major factor. As a right wing back. So it was a weird start to the season. But again, I always had faith. And again, we're going to come to it. But the turning point was that Spurs game. Getting that win was massive at that time of the year. Massive.
You've definitely jumped early there with that, because I'm actually going to go around with everyone's turning point.
Just quickly, Rich, it is also to note that we also lost Chadi Riyad very, very early.
Great point.
In that Norwich game, 10 minutes into the game,
Yeah.
which we were at, and we were all there, and we were all just looking at like what's happened, because he'd gone down, tried to get back up again, fell back down, and then the physios sprinted on and said, no, you're getting come off. Chris Richards gets subbed on, and then obviously our defensive depth is now -1, which I think forced the loan move for Chalobah, obviously.
Yeah, and I just want to build on that very quickly. I just want to show you the configuration of the back three in our first 7 games or 8 games, I think it was. So to begin with, Richards, Anderson, Gay, Richards, Gay, Riyadh, and obviously then he got injured. Then it's Klein on the right, that is obviously, and then Gay in the middle, and then Richards on the left, and then it was Klein again, but then it was Lacroix on the left. So every single game we had a different back three in a different place, and then Lacroix and Richards swapped over. Actually, Richards didn't play the last game. Richards moved to left, Lacroix on the right, Lacroix on the right again, but then Jefferson Lerma on the left. And then we brought in Chalobah. So Chalobah came in, but Lacroix was still playing on that right-hand side.
Was that the Liverpool one then?
Yes, I think so. Because that's Spurs, Forest. And then what was before Forest? That was Liverpool before Forest.
Yeah.
So that was Liverpool. And then Chalobah on the right, Gay finally, and Lacroix. And then, funnily enough, the first game we win, the same back three.
That's a very telling point, and it's that stability that we ended up having with those three. Obviously, Chris Richards, I believe, had a bit of an injury as well. He was kind of in and out of the side anyway and stuff. But once we ended up having a settled back three at whatever point of the season it was, boy, we looked good.
Mm-hmm.
We looked good. Tim, I intentionally missed out the Nottingham Forest game because I thought that was quite a telling game. In the point where I thought for the first 30 minutes, I thought we looked really bright.
I mean,
and then everything just went flat.
Yeah, I remember this because I wasn't. It was the game. It was the first game I had to listen to. I couldn't watch it because that here in the U.S. that was the first day of early voting, and so I was like very eager to get out and vote. And I remember I had like the Palace app on, and I was listening to it walking, and I was like, "This ain't going well." I mean, we're just creating, we're doing something, and then it just seemed like the confidence was starting to drain out of the team. You know, like we start really, really brightly, and then it goes completely flat, and it's just, by the end, completely dead. And then you go back and you see, what happened. Just like, oh man. I mean, that's the sort of game, Rich, that in years past, I have enough trauma as a Palace fan, like this could turn ugly for us, because that's the kind of game that just drains the confidence right out of you. It turned out that wasn't the case at all. And I know we'll talk about turning points, but the next game, the Tottenham game, is actually not my turning point. It's a great game. It's a fascinating victory, but it's not my turning point.
Let's go into that then. So, Patrick, you said it was Spurs game was the turning point because of the first win.
I think for the beginning of the season, not for the entire season, but the beginning of that first 10, 11 games, we had to win a game at some point. For me, it's not the turning point for the season. We're all going to pick the same guy. I know you're going to pick, but no, it was the first turning point for me at the beginning of the season. We had to win that game, and we did.
What was your turning point for the season then, Patrick?
The Newcastle game. The Newcastle game for sure for me. The Newcastle game.
I'm tempted to go to the Newcastle game, but I can't get past the first Brighton victory at the Amex, just beating the Seaweed. And the reason why I say that, Rich, is because it's the first game where I remember watching SAR, and I was like, okay, all right, we have somebody here. That was the first time I think we really saw the right side of the attack come alive. And that proved to be one of the big storylines of the season. And it was what a victory. We only had 16 points. We were 15th in the league. At the end of that, coming into that match, we were 16th. At the end of it, we moved to 15th, and we're on 16 points. From the end of that game, Palace end up yielding 37 more points in the league. What a run after that. That's December 15th. What a run after that.
Absolutely. Chairman.
Yeah, I agree with what everybody else is, but I look at it slightly different actually, and I accept that. That beating Tottenham was a great thing. It was just like, oh, thank God for that, we won a game. And the Newcastle game, yeah, it was we snatched a point from nothing. But for me, when I started to believe that everything's going to be okay, was Ipswich. For me personally, I thought once we beat Ipswich away, because we was on level points with Ipswich at the time, and I think once we beat Ipswich, I knew that we were going to be okay. That for me, that was a turning point.
Mm-hmm.
Nikki?
I was muted. I think the turning point was around about when, as soon as we came off after the Spurs games, it was around about that point, because obviously we rode the high of the Spurs win, getting our first 3 points, and then obviously it got back to mediocrity. But I think there was just a general, okay, we've got a launching pad, and it was just that it was a soft launch for us. But I will agree with Tim. I think it was the Brighton game that everyone was clued in, everyone was locked in, and everything just started flowing as we expected it to. And then obviously the rest of the season happened.
Dan?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking through the fixture list now, and I think, personally for me, I think the Spurs game was a bit of not a false dawn, but I think obviously we went away to Wolves, should have won that game, but then we had that really bad game against Fulham. So I think the run of games that I'm looking at is Newcastle, where we drew 1-1, obviously scored in the last minute. Ipswich away, had a good result against City as well, and then obviously we beat Brighton. I feel like the turning point was before Brighton, though, because I remember going to that game thinking that we had a good chance of beating them. For me, it's torn between Newcastle and Ipswich. I think I'm going to go with Ipswich more so, but just because we won that game and we did grind it out. Like Ipswich weren't terrible. They did. I think they had a couple of chances, if I remember correctly. But we ground out that result, and I think that was a really important away win. Because the thing is, if you get a point away at Ipswich, after the run we've been on, I think people start to worry a lot more. Like Newcastle were a decent. I know they played bad that day, but they're a decent side with decent players. Ipswich for me, I think was the turning point.
So, Rich, the reason I picked Newcastle, there's several reasons. One, we didn't have Wharton, so that began the whole Lerma Hughes in the middle. Obviously, we had the back three of Gahey, Lacroix, and Chalobah starting to get a little settled down, and obviously Saar started to play on the right side 10. So there's that. Also, if you remember the Newcastle game, Munoz missed a couple of chances in that game, and that header was massive for him. From that point on, he went on a massive roll. And I'll turn to that the celebration by Glasner, the way he ran that line. To me, man, and the fans in the stadium. I just think that there's so many things into that game that made it, to me, the turning point. Again, having the lineup without Wharton, the manager's reaction, and even his reaction post-match where he talked about that game. I just think that game meant so much to the players. I agree, though. Ipswich was massive. Brighton was massive. But to me, the beginning of the turnaround was that game. We played great in that game because Newcastle was a good team. We played really well in that game, deserved to win. A point was actually less than we deserved. But to get that goal in the manner of getting it at the last minute, the homes there, the reaction to the fans, I thought that was such an important point. But I get the whole other game because, again, I just think that Newcastle game was so big at the time.
It's definitely one of the moments of the season, isn't it? For sure. 100% one of the moments of the season.
Yeah. I mean, it was like, for me, like I've gone with Newcastle as well. Funny enough, initially when I thought about it, I had gone with Spurs because you always got to get that first win. But when I look back at like the manner in which we approached that Newcastle game, it's a very good Newcastle side. Granted, they would have said they're going through their struggles at the time, but we made them look like they played in the Vanarama League. Like they had nothing. Like it was literally attack after attack after attack. And I was sitting there getting frustrated thinking, how have we not scored to only then go and score for them? So when Munoz obviously put that, like, obviously it's a sense of relief. There was still disappointment because, like I said, we should have won that like 4-5, whatever, easily. But then obviously seeing everything back, just seeing Glasner just charging down that's when I thought to myself, these guys love this manager.
Yeah.
And it just all just felt to me like it's falling back into place. We're playing like how we did at the back end of last season. and we could be a big problem here.
Yeah.
We could be a big problem, you know, and
Also
had
that
everything.
game,
Yes, sir.
remember, we had 16 shots. They had one shot on goal. We had 16 shots in that game. They had one shot in the goal in that game.
And it was
But
off.
correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't their shot in goal ours?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Goal,
Yeah.
They didn't have a shot on target.
because it was a cross and
Exactly.
it came off him, didn't it?
Yep.
Exactly.
As
Yep.
Grav just said, Gahey has scored 2 times for Newcastle.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
But it seems like the comments are saying Newcastle, Ipswich, Brian. One rogue shout from Ed. The Chelsea draw was the first time I felt any belief we could get ourselves back together.
Yeah,
After
to be
Fulham
fair,
in Feb,
when Czech came on, we looked so good.
we did.
Yeah. Yep.
And
Sure.
and arguably, could you like the Fulham game was like the bit of the pits. Couldn't get any worse. Maybe could argue that. And Colin's saying that it was when Nicky finally opened his eyes.
The thing is, Nicky, you are never going to live that down. You know?
I don't think so.
Right.
The
next two-
giving.
The next 2 points I'll split into two. So myself, Dan, and Nicky will discuss the away form. Chairman, Tim, and Patrick discuss the cup runs. But we won't discuss the FA Cup final yet. But we'll talk just the element of tackling the cup runs and the importance of it for our just overall performance in the season. So I'll start off with the away form. It was so interesting that last season, I think our home form is what saw us through. Like the home crowd just pumping up the team. Was literally the 12th man. Call it the 13th. For some reason, our away form was just so much better. Like we're not conceding any goals. We're gonna win this 1-0. We don't care. Like we became an absolute unit. And I think it built a foundation for us to say, no one's scoring goals past us. We don't care. And add to that, both home and away, I'd say, it was our backline that was scoring the goals and bailing us out as well, which I thought was very interesting. Dan, what's your thoughts on our away form?
Yeah, I mean, I think one really good stat. I'm just trying to find it / remember it.
Do you want Nicky to go before you then whilst you find the stat?
No, it's okay, but I know that we went. I can't remember the exact stat, but I know that we went a certain amount of games away games without conceding a goal.
Yeah, 6, wasn't it?
Was it 6?
Yeah.
And then because it ended at Southampton.
Southampton, that's right. We were there, weren't we? Yeah.
Yeah, it ended at Southampton. So yeah. So I can have a quick look at what that was then. So yeah. So and I think that just kind of emphasizes the point really. I think we're the first team in top flight history, not Premier League history, top flight history since 1888 to do that. And that, and that includes the teams like the Invincibles, like the Arsenal's Invincibles or Preston's Invincibles in the Victorian times. That also includes Chelsea when they conceded only 15 goals in a Premier League season. Like to do that really is incredible. Like that really is incredible.
15 goals conceded in a Premier League season is mad.
It's still great.
Personally, I don't think that will ever get beaten. But yeah. But I mean, look, and I think that was the foundation. That was the foundation for our away form. I think because we didn't score loads away from home. We scored 27 away from home, which at a cursory glance kind of puts us somewhere in the middle. But then we only conceded 25, and I mean the only teams I can see that conceded less away from home is Brentford, Everton, City, and Arsenal, and that's the same amount that Liverpool conceded away from home. The team that actually won the league. So I think that really personified it. And actually, what that meant then was that we got 28 points away from home this season, whilst we only got 25 at home this season. So we actually did do better away from home. And we're one of only 5 teams to actually do that this season. More points away from home.
To add context to that, 10 of those goals were conceded in 2 matches.
Yeah.
Which is the City and the Newcastle game, which is mad.
Yeah.
So make it even better.
And they were back-to-back away games as well.
Yes, they were.
Yeah, they were, yeah.
Once in the course of the season, we're just glad we got them all out the way. Nicky?
So yeah, if we go from the 23rd of November, so that is our 2-2 draw in the Premier League against Aston Villa away. at Villa Park, and then we just went on a crazy run after that. 1-0 against Ipswich away, 3-1 down on the south coast against some insignificant team that no one cares about. And then obviously forgiving the EFL Cup quarterfinal 0-0 against Bournemouth, and then going into the new year, another 1-1 draw against Chelsea. No, that was at home. Sorry, and then 2-0 against Leicester. It was after that we became a problem, much like we were a problem away from home when Pulis took us over after Ian Holloway left the job. We just kept being a problem away from home. We created a hostile atmosphere through the fans in other people's stadiums. You don't do that you don't get that in your own backyard, for crying out loud. So it was just the belief through Glasner, through the style of play that we were doing, and just the way that the fans were just getting excited again, because now we had turned that corner. We had obviously gone through to a quarterfinal of the League Cup at that point, which the guys will get on to. It's just that belief that Palace fans going across the country, up and down, it just gave the players that extra 12th man, which is what Glasner said at the stadium. Our support was nothing like the rest of the league, maybe even the rest of the country. So you go on that crazy run, and as Dan said, no other team in top flight history, doesn't concede a goal, and that's going through, teams that, would think, hang on, Palace, mid-table mediocrity FC, are not even conceding goals. And to our point, I think we didn't get the flowers that we deserved, because obviously everyone was talking about your Liverpools, your Arsenals and everything. But we were setting a standard in the mid-table of, no, this is how you finish mid-table securely and safely, just by dominating quietly.
No, thanks. Let's go into our cup run, because I think that was also very, very prominent in a sense, and I think it helped change the mentality going into the rest of the season. So, Chairman, talk us through our cup runs.
I think it sort of started a bit by chance, really, isn't it? Because I'm wondering, if we'd have had a better start to our season, would we have played such a strong team in the early rounds of the cup? I think probably not. And I think Glasner was playing strong teams all the way from Norwich and from the start, because I think he wanted to get some sort of cohesion between the first team. So I think it sort of started a bit by chance, but obviously as we started to go through the League Cup, we were getting better and better, and the team was sort of gelling more, definitely. And I think that sort of led into the FA Cup as well, that we could put a strong team out and we could do something here, because we made the quarterfinals of the League Cup, playing very well. And I think it all started by chance. I think, because generally, if we'd have won 4 out of our first 8 games, would he have put such a strong team away to Aston Villa in that League Cup game? I don't think he would have done, but he did, because I think he was desperate to try to get some cohesion with the team. But I've got to say, the cup runs were a bit of a joy, really, weren't they? I mean, it was a bit of a you can forget about the league form, and Norwich beat 4-0, and I think QPR away 2-0, and we got a great. I think the turning point was a 2-1 away win at Villa, and I think that was the first time they lost that season at Villa Park. So
that's right.
I think it was, yeah, and we played so well in the cup, and we thinking, do you know something? And if he puts us, because obviously we used to Roy, who would never play any team in the cup ever. And now we've gone to a guy that's pretty much saying to the first team, you're going to be playing in the cup, buying a couple of subtle changes. And I think that's what actually led us to get into the quarterfinal, obviously League Cup. And then on the bounce of that, we're looking at it and going, if we get a favourable draw in the FA Cup, we could do very well. And I think that's basically where it came from, personally.
Yeah. Tim, obviously hindsight's a beautiful thing. I could be open on this and put hands up and say, I was screaming at him when it came to Villa away, and we're playing the likes of Wharton, who we knew wasn't 100% fit, and then Ebbs went down early in that game. Now, what was going through your mind? Obviously, him Glasner playing like strong sides.
I was enjoying it. I'm with Chairman on this one, but I was nervous also because we had a thin squad. So I'm not going to say I wasn't nervous. I was, but I was very much enjoying that this was new, and I have long thought that the route to Europe for Palace, the number one route, really was through cups. I thought that was always going to be our route, uh, because it just takes so much to get to Europe via table position. It's just a lot. It's a slog, and you also have to have luck. Not that you don't have to have luck in the cups. We know this. You do have to have luck in the cups. But like, you can go on a run in the cup and find your way to Europe. So I was very happy about that, but I was nervous about the thin squad. But I will say this too. We learned something during the League Cup, which I think was also kind of interesting. The League Cup also gave us some debuts that were kind of interesting. It gave us the Caleb Kapora debut. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. He didn't start all that brightly at Arsenal, but he did come into his own in that game.
Right after he got booked, he started playing better.
He started playing great. Start playing great. Yeah, exactly. He was shown to be naive pretty early on, and then he started playing really well, and we could see a little bit of what we had. But that was also the two games where those were the only two games that Daniel Munoz missed because of suspension. He was out. He was out for both the Arsenal games, and we got to learn, like, boy, that guy's important. That guy's pretty important. But I thought it was great. I loved that the League Cup gave us something to sink our teeth into during a pretty dire moment in the season.
The League Cup did give us Justin Devaney, wasn't it? Sliding doors moment. Wharton went off, Devaney came on, and he was a first team regular the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely.
And obviously from there, you know, he's scored some crucial goals for us. Obviously in the FA Cup as well.
Yeah, he gave some nightmares to Unai Emery, didn't he? He scored at least once versus Villa, didn't he? Scored in the league.
Yeah.
I don't remember if he scored in the League Cup. That I don't remember.
That was Eze and Kamada.
Yeah, Eze and Kamada's Aston Villa goal was still.
That's right.
Yeah,
scored in the league, didn't he, Devaney?
Yeah, he scored against Doncaster as well, Devaney.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Patrick, under Glasner, would you say Crystal Palace are a cup team now? Because fair play to Glasner, he's done quarterfinals and winning in his first full season, and that's a pretty impressive resume.
Yeah, for me, the cup showed me the elite mentality that he has. He never ever went into a game thinking he could lose. He put out strong sides. Yes, he probably shouldn't have played Eze and Wharton, granted, against Villa. Probably won the game, and I think it was important to win that game. And I think the League Cup form, because I remember being at the QPR game, the 2-1 away win, and then obviously we beat Norwich. And I just think the mentality that he took into the Cups really helped in the League Cup. Really helped us in the FA Cup. It really helped us to play a Villa side. Obviously, it wasn't a strong Villa side, but to beat them was important. Even the Arsenal loss, the 3-2 loss, I thought we played well in that game. Eddie got a goal, which is important, I thought, for his psyche. I just think that the way he set up in those games, the whole I'm going to play to win and not going to play players just to play them, I think that really helped us. So when we got into the cup run with Doncaster and Stockport and the Millwall and etc., I just said this guy is an elite manager, and I've said it for years. My one dream was to win a cup, but I always thought the best cup would win the League Cup as far as being easy. So the FA Cup was amazing, but again, his mentality was brilliant. I think that's what led us to winning, not necessarily anything else, but the way he approached and the way he spoke to the players. And we were lucky enough, obviously, to see how he spoke to players after the FA Cup semi-final game. His speeches was so good, and the way he spoke to the player, I thought, again, is he a cup manager, Rich? Yes, but he's also just an elite manager. I think that's what made it so great.
I agree with that.
Rich, you and I said this at one point. I think we were on a live stream together. This might have been before this season, but we said after post-match, Glasner was talking to Adam Wharton after the game, and we highlighted on that with just how his man management is second to none. I think also talking about the cup, we were also it's quite ironic the fact that we played Villa in both domestic cups, coming off of their Champions League and Premier League games, and we were looking at, and they had rotated due to injuries or other means. So it's quite a funny little thing there with Aston Villa and how Unai Emery wakes up in cold sweats whenever he hears the words Oliver Glasner. I don't know what it is, but he's got him on speed dial for some reason.
100%. And Dan,
yeah, this
thank you
question I
for
wanted to
highlighting
highlight.
this. Well, Nikki, for highlighting this, because I was literally had my finger on the pulse ready. Very quickly, we'll go around the table very quickly. At what point did you start to believe that we were going to win the FA Cup? Patrick.
The Fulham win the quarterfinals, honestly. Once we got to the quarterfinal, I started to believe more. I was at the Millwall game, and the Mateta thing really bothered me. But I mean, to beat them was great. We hadn't conceded a goal up to that point. Doncaster and Stockport were just easy wins. It's a great point about the red card on Munoz. That was a Colin. That's a very important. I forgot all about that. He should have gotten red card in that game. He really should have. Then we still could have won that game, honestly, because it's Doncaster, but another team. But I started to believe, honestly, with the Fulham game. I'd been to the away game in the league. We played so well, but the cup game played so much better. The Eze goal was brilliant. The cross to Saar, and obviously Eddie getting that goal. I thought at Fulham, once we finally beaten a good side, and I said, okay, Villa next, maybe, and then obviously the final. But for me, it was the Fulham game. Once we got past them, I said, we got a chance here. We got a real chance.
Tim?
Same with Fulham. I thought it was brilliant because it was Ebbs looking like the Ebbs we know he can be, and when he was just smiling and being dominant, on that pitch, just like, okay, if we're gonna have this version of Ebbs, we got a chance.
Chairman?
Well, I mean, I was there in 1990 and I was there in 2016. But for me, it was when Jeremy Doku missed a shot with 99 minutes and 50 seconds on the clock.
I was going to say the same thing.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Fair enough.
I was going to say that's what I wanted to go last.
I like it.
Sorry, mate.
Nikki?
I genuinely never thought we would win it, to be honest, because after the semi-final, obviously, before the semi-final, we said during the vlog that I was super, super confident. The rest of us weren't feeling very confident. And then it was an exact mirror of that for the final. I was incredibly nervous. It wasn't until the final whistle went that I was like, we've won a trophy.
You woke up.
Bloody hell, he simbed himself.
Nah, Nicky simbed me, the cheek. Gosh, I'm going to have to put... You've got to think of our viewers, Nikki. Like, it's not that there's only two of us. Now I've got to put everyone back in position.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's just lack of experience, Nikki.
Do
it, Nikki. You're messing up the flow. Don't keep talking.
I'm not even talking. But to be honest, when it finally dawned upon me that we had a chance to win the FA Cup, it was when you, me, and AJ were walking out, just going for a walk around Victoria, and it was at that point that we.
I'm just going to leave it. I don't know who's messing about with this. Go on, continue, Nikki.
No, it's not me.
It was just when we were out for a walk around Victoria, you, me, and AJ, and we was like, hang on, we're 90 minutes away from the highest point that we could possibly reach up till that point for our club.
Absolutely. Dan?
Well, I'm just going to load something because apparently I thought it was in July.
I knew he would bring it up. I knew he'd bring this up.
Nice.
This guy is shameless. I love it.
I tell you what, though, I did get the League Cup bit wrong. We actually got to the quarterfinals, not the fourth round. Silly.
That's impressive, though. That's impressive. I'm not going to lie.
I love it.
No, to be honest, even when the final whistle went, even about half an hour afterwards, I was expecting to see a notification on FOTMob saying that Man City had equalised or something. I mean, to be honest, it took such a long time for it to even sink in. It's only really properly sunk in, like maybe the past week or so. I mean, I mean, I think Fulham for me was like the really difficult obstacle because obviously they were playing quite well. You know, I think we come back from international break and we didn't look maybe as good. I can't remember, but certainly in that first 20 minutes before Ebbs scored, I thought we did look a bit ropey. And I think after we kind of overcame that and we came out of it the other side, and then obviously we got the draw for Villa. You know, obviously still very nervous. Didn't fully believe that we'd win it, but I guess that was when I started getting belief, really.
Yeah, for me, it was literally when Doku screwed his shot wide. I then stood up on the chairs. Because the whole of the game, I was literally like, I was sitting on the seats. I couldn't. It was just, I saw 10 minutes. I was like, I can't watch the rest of this. I literally felt sick. You know,
I think that was a collective. There was a collective just sound of disbelief across the entire Palace end. That everyone was like, "Wait, where did 10 minutes come from?" And all the entire city. Well, actually, I actually didn't hear anyone in the city end actually.
Right.
But it became a great point of banter at the very end because
indeed.
Pep was right, giving the finger to Dino, and Dino gives him the "You got your 10 minutes, son. That's enough." So it was great. It became
Brilliant.
a perfect point of banter.
Big up vibes. Dan, was you sober when?
Well, it was at 5:15 in the evening, so I don't know. Is the
That's
answer?
not
I can't remember.
that's not any defence. What do you mean at 5:15 in the evening?
I can't remember. I can't remember, officer.
Is it? Just a few more talking points before we wrap up. Nikki, you had some stats for us.
I do indeed. So this is what I have made up. I do have to go into right. So we've obviously got the full stats of the full season here. Each player is highlighted for who obviously had the most amounts. So we have Daniel Munoz highlighted because he is our player of the year and player of the season. So obviously that's well deserved for him, and Jean-Philippe Mateta for his goal of the season against Arsenal away. One quick thing is that Dan has always joked of who would get the most yellow cards out of everyone this season, and we all thought it would be Mr. Will Hughes. Well, by a factor of one, Daniel Munoz actually gets the most yellows. Four red.
To be fair, Munoz has played another 1,500 minutes, and then we'll
Yes, yeah. So, also Dan did ask me to include who would play the most minutes. Now, obviously, Dino actually is one of the few players this season who's played all 38 Premier League games this season. So that is obviously recognised in his 3,960 minutes. But again, Munoz 4,020 minutes played across all competitions this season, with 46 starts, 46 appearances. So he is firmly in there. 6 goals, 7 assists, 4.9 on the XG, and then obviously our top goal scorer Jean-Philippe Mateta with 17 goals. 13.6 on the XG with 3,287 minutes played. Quite sad to see, obviously, with the likes of Czech Decore only having made 14 appearances this season, unfortunately due to injury. But then we see you can just get a grasp of how good we've gone with such a small squad. I believe Mary made a comment way at the start of the stream that Glasgow wanted a small squad. You only get a sense of how small our squad has been this season when you look at this. When I was building this, I was thinking, how in the world have we finished 12th with a cup with this? And then obviously the players that you see here, the 6 players here, who did play for us, you have made appearances, that being Jordan Ayew, Joachim Anderson, Asher Agbenone, Odson Edouard, Jeffrey Schlupp, and Trevor Chalobah. I believe only the last 2 actually came over with trophies as well. So congratulations to those 2. Yeah. So that's his stats. You obviously see more appearances for Mateus França and Justin Devaney. Less so minutes for Mateus França. Hopefully, in the upcoming season, he actually does get a few more minutes to play, because his song is my favorite Palace chant this season.
Who did Chris Richards get sent off against?
He got
Can't remember.
Yeah, I meant to say this earlier, by the way, but because JC is not on here, Sam Barrett is a pagan. I mean, that guy is terrible. But Richards got sent off. Remember the second yellow?
Bournemouth.
At the end of the first half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
0-0, yeah.
That was the second match that we had Sam Barrett, and he was absolutely dreadful for us.
Nicky.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, two things. Last season was the first one that we had 3 goals scored at double digits. That was Elise, Eze, and Mateta. We did again this season with Saw, Eze, and Mateta. So we've done it 2 years in a row. But real question, I have a question, everyone. I love the Mateta goal versus Arsenal, but that's not the goal of the season for me.
We're going to get to that. We're going to get you.
I love that goal, but that's not goal of the season. It's not goal of the season. Not for me, but anyway, sorry.
The last thing, obviously, is at the start of the season, or at least the first half of the season, obviously, before when he got that red card, we were all questioning, does Daichi start? Where does he go? On he's
not all of us.
Bench.
Not all of us were. But anyway,
fair enough. You just see with 43 appearances, 21 starts, almost half of that, and just look at the resurgence that he had. Case in point, the FA Cup semi-final is huge, and now this squad, obviously without Matt Turner and Ben Chilwell, is now going to be featured in the Europa League as much as possible, I would hope. I know, Dan, you, myself, and Rich were talking about the registration on that. So we'll look at that more in towards the summer as that goes on.
Yeah, I think we'll start talking about it tomorrow, I think, in Transfer Weekly.
Absolutely.
But yeah, those are the stats. No problem.
Nice.
Right, last 2 segments. Well, one's a segment that we're all involved in, the other bit's just a bit of news. I am going to go through all the Palace end of season awards. Only object if you have something different. One of them is goal of the season, Patrick, so you can definitely chime in then. Right, so first one, moment of the season as us winning the FA Cup.
Yeah, you can't dispute that, can you?
You can't dispute that at all.
Next.
Right, goal of the season was Mateta versus Arsenal. Any objections?
Go on, Patrick.
Yeah, we won the FA Cup first ever in our history. It's got to be Eb's goal in the final. It has to be. For me, it was a well developed goal. The link up play between Kamada and Mateta, the ball out to Munoz, the cross and the finish. We won an FA Cup 1-0. To me, that has to be goal of the season. I loved the Mateta goal. It was a really smart play. Talked about how Glazer told him how Raya pays off his line, etc., and it was a great strike. But for me, if you win the FA Cup and it's not like a tap in, it's got to be goal of the season. That's just my opinion.
Yeah,
I'm gonna second that and say for similar reasons, it is the goal that typified a Glasner Palace team. Richards into Mateta, 1-2 with Kamada, out on the wing, bang. What is that? 5-pass goal. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. That was a microcosm of our attack this season. It was brilliant.
I agree. I mean, I'm going to give special mention to this particular goal. Ebbs' tapping against Spurs. Just because he laughed afterwards.
Yeah, good point.
That for me, I can't. I have that on repeat. It's just so funny.
That's really good. That was. Can you believe they let me do that?
By the way, shout out Eb got married yesterday.
Yes,
amazing.
Right. Congratulations to Ebs.
Yeah,
awesome.
Congratulations to him.
Any other goal of the season shouts apart? So we got Ebbs.
I would only give.
Sorry, Tim.
I would only give a shout to, even though I'm backing the final goal, Ebbs's absolute smash in the semifinal.
Yeah.
Oh, baby. That
Yep.
was some kind of goal. And just his reaction to it and the team's reaction to it was superb. But it can't go over the goal in the final. But what a moment and what a goal that was.
Is it a better goal than his quarterfinal goal against Fulham?
I mean, in terms of
No.
I probably not no, but I mean, just the fact that you can say that, and we have 2 goals like that going into the final is just outrageous.
I'd even argue that Ismail. I thought Ismail Assar's was better in the Villa one personally.
Villa game.
I thought he
Yeah.
just
The second
absolutely
goal, yeah.
smashed that in the bottom corner, and I think
I would have gone with.
I mean, FA Cup
Sar's goal
final
against
still for me.
Brighton. I think it's Sar's goal against Brighton.
Which one? The third
He
one?
just runs right through the defense and just like
Well,
Hi.
because Dunk ends up on
Hi.
his arse.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that. It's
Don't
that one
don't
for me.
forget, Mateta's goal against Brighton as well was quality.
Yeah, it was.
Oh yeah, that was
He
that was a really good goal.
Mateta's
actually.
goal against Villa in the 4-1 at home. Remember, he picks up, Ebbs gets taken out, and he
Yeah.
absolutely smashes it with his left foot.
There's been some quality goals.
There's been some great goals this season.
Yeah, fair play.
Yeah. To be fair, I actually thought it was going to go to Hindler Mustafa for his goal against
Yeah.
Brighton.
The
Because that half
Yeah.
volley was
Goal,
ridiculous.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Men's player of the season was given to Daniel Munoz. Any objections? Mine was Dean Henderson.
I feel like there's so many players who I think are in with a shout of this, because the thing is, like, yeah, Hendo would be another one. I think Lacroix is maybe another arguable. I think Ismail Assar, maybe he'd be in like a bracket below. But then also you got like Ebbs did win the FA, like his goal did win it. I know he maybe poor for the first portions of the season, but there's so many players who I think I wouldn't argue against it.
No. Mine was Henderson at the start, but you can't. I mean, Munoz made the team in the season as well. You can't argue with that, can you?
Yeah. We won't do players because obviously that's down to players, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can't
Well,
argue with it.
going back though, Rich, Henderson had a good end of the season, and I mentioned in player men stuff. I always mention that if he doesn't have a good end of the season, we're not winning the FA Cup, and he did a good job. But I'll always go back to the fact that if you go back to Henderson's season over the whole, there are a lot of clean sheets, but he had like 1 or 2 saves to make. He didn't have a lot to do, but as the season went on, he made massive saves. But for me, honestly, I would have given it to Ebbs, because Ebbs' second half of the season was phenomenal.
Really
it really was, and he came up with key goals in every single FA Cup game, the quarterfinal, semi-final, final. Scored goals, against Tottenham, against Forest. To me, as much as Munoz deserved to get one of those 2 awards, I would have given the other one to Ebbs. Ebbs was absolutely phenomenal, and people will talk about how he wasn't having a good season and he missed Olise. For me, I had to give that one of the awards to Ebbs. Munoz definitely deserves an award because the man is an absolute machine. But for me, I have to give Ebbs one of those awards. He played great, and without him, we don't win the FA Cup. There's no way we do. No way.
We are, I have to mention this. We are doing one of our best players dirty in every one of these conversations we have about player of the season. We have not mentioned Mark Gay. We haven't mentioned
Great point. It's a great point. Goes under the radar all the time.
He's the one that gets the assist for Munoz on that moment, arguably the moment of the season in the Newcastle game.
Newcastle, yeah.
And he was so consistent. And you look at games where he was not present, and we noticed that he wasn't there. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
great point.
He was brilliant this season. I mean, and he's been consistently brilliant.
Absolutely. Next award was under 18s player of the season, Seb Williams. I've got no arguments.
I would have said Hindelo.
He's done the 21s.
Oh,
Seb is under 18.
He actually moved up to the under 21s now officially. Okay, he was still listed under the under 18s list as well.
Yeah, he didn't play. I watched like 18 games. It was Seb. It would have been who, Jesse Derry, but he stopped playing for the 18s and went on to the 21s. But it would have been Derry. But no, over the course of the season, Seb was the captain, played really well. That's a great shout for him.
Yeah, I agree.
For sure.
21's Hindler Mustafa. I don't think anyone's.
I think
100%.
I think
110%.
now I'm not reading too far into this, obviously, but if you look on the CPFC website, under the squad listings, it has changed now and again across the season. But now, it's only as of a few weeks ago when I was building up the team list for the stats, Hindler Mustafa is now added in to the midfield under the seniors team. I think this is his call up because obviously he's in there with the likes of Zach Henry, Caden Rodney, Caleb Kapoha, Zach Henry. I think this is his season. If he does get loaned out, look, I think he'll do well wherever he goes. But as long as it's a decent, hopefully a League One, mid-table League Two team that can, you know, he can obviously excel in Bromley perhaps. So hopefully we see Hinderlow in red and blue, or featuring as well as the likes of Whitworth and Goodman have done this season as well.
You mean Marsh, right? You're talking about not Zach Henry, Zach Marsh.
Zach Marsh, sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, and then lastly for the women's, Ashley Weirden took those awards, which
Yeah.
I don't
Best
think
player by
anyone's
far
going
It's
this
a bit of a
season.
poison
Yeah.
chalice, that one, obviously, with us being relegated from the WSL. But I think the transfers weren't great. Obviously, bringing in a few players here and there off of frees and loans. Those loans being cancelled through injury, but yeah. To be honest, I think Virden does get it, but yeah, it's a bit of a poison chalice when you get relegated. Who's your best player in your worst season?
Stengel was good.
Stengel was very, very good. Yeah,
She was very good for the women, but it's got to be Beard.
yeah, I would agree. I would agree with you on that one, Tim.
Absolutely. Right, we were going to discuss the stadium. I'm not going to do it now. I can't be
No,
asked.
we can do that.
Yeah, fair enough.
So we're going to finish off with our final player ratings for the season. Tim, I know you hate this thing.
Tim's favorite segment. Woohoo!
Let's do it. I got to get my water here.
We're going to do this properly and objectively, thinking about the whole season, not just the fact that we've won the FA Cup and given everyone a 10. So we're actually going to do this as honestly as possible. So I will start based on where I can see everyone from bottom to top. Let's start with Nikki. Dan, I'll let you lead, but that's if you've got the players in front of you.
Yeah. All right. So I'm not gonna do this in order necessarily. Actually, no, I will do this in order because I think a good barometer to kind of get where we're all thinking is Dean Henderson.
Who's that to?
To Nikki.
Oh, right.
Sorry, Nikki.
I would give Dino a 9 because he's my player of the season. As we were on that chat, he's 15 clean sheets, and having played all games in the Premier League before the season, would you have said Dean Henderson gets the chant of he's now England's number one? He's now fighting Jordan Pickford for that selection. I think he is England's number one goalkeeper right now.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Right, I tell you what. Let's go in order. So let's start with our right-sided centre back that completed the season. So Patrick, you can have Chris Richards.
9 for me. Tough situation for him to come into, replacing Chalobah. Played on the left side, mostly played on the back four for the United States and even previously. And to come in and play as well as he did on the right side, he made Munoz a better player because he made Munoz be able to attack more. I thought as the season went on, he became invaluable. We didn't miss Chalobah. I know a lot of people talking about Chalobah in January. Oh my God, what do we do about Chalobah? He stayed fit too. I think Chris was brilliant. I'll give him a 9.
I think that's fair, and especially like the amount of aerial duels like he won, especially in like towards the end of that City game. I thought.
Watch the cup final. Yeah, the cup final, man.
Cup
he makes so
final,
many
he wins
important headers.
100%.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, there was one specific header he flicked on at the back post, which was a certain goal for Haaland. Like,
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
It's not just the FA Cup final that Richards did well in on aerial duels. He's won 100% of his aerial duels across this second half of the season throughout his starts, which I think is testament to Glasner putting him in that role and starting him.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. Tim? Maxence Lacroix.
I think I have to give him a 9 because I think he's a legit player of the season candidate for a couple of reasons. He's had at least, I can think of at least 2. I feel like there's more last-ditch interventions that if he's not there, if we don't have him, if we have Anderson, they end up being consequential goals that change the season. He was a real difference maker for us. He was also, I think the other, I could get into just his play on the pitch, but I think the other thing that makes him a 9 is how fast did he endear himself and become embedded with us as fans and become like this incredible leader on
That's
the
a great
pitch
point.
and an incredible rallying point on the pitch for us as fans. I think the arc of development for Maxence Lacroix this season has been joyous. It really has been incredible. I've loved it. So yeah, it's got to be a 9 for me.
Nice.
Just off of that, Rich, you, myself, and JC were constantly waiting for Lacroix to come over to the fans and do his fist pump to all the fans. We couldn't actually end recording that part of the vlog until we actually got that.
Yeah.
So
No, absolutely.
Chairman, you have Mark.
I think Mark's had an excellent season. I think he's solid without being spectacular, isn't he? I'm going to give him an 8. I think he's been absolutely brilliant. I think we'll find it really, really hard to replace him. But 8 for me, yeah. The 2 own goals against Newcastle, and obviously the sending off. But you know, these things happen, don't it? But yeah, I mean, solid, but that's been spectacular, and he will be a massive hole to fill if he goes. Personally.
Absolutely.
And based on that, just quickly, guys, don't need to answer this now. Wait for tomorrow's stream if need be. But would you let him go, or would you keep him and let him go on a free? Just have a think about that.
I have a hot take on that. After we finish this, if you want me to give you the hot take, because I'm gonna make a strong argument that you might not expect.
Look forward to hearing in a minute, then, Tim.
Right, I've got Mr. Tyrick Mitchell. I think it's fair to say times this season he hasn't been up to it in terms of attack. Defensively, very rarely criticise him, to be honest. And I think especially in games where we are on the back foot a little bit, I think he is invaluable. And to be honest, like could you argue, did we see his lack of attack more so because Glasner generally tends to favour that side in terms of attack a bit more, maybe. But I think he's made tweaks to the system where maybe Tyrick is more defensive than Munoz. But having said that, I do think when Chilwell came in, I do think he did up his game. I think that has been part of his problem is that he has not really had a lot of time to recover in between games. So yeah, I'm torn between a 7 or an 8 for me. I'm going to go over 7. I'm going to be a bit harsh maybe, but I just think there were times this season where I think, a much better cross would have been really, really, would have been a lot better there. And to be honest, at times this season, if we were to buy a new player, he'd probably be one of the first people I replace, to be honest. But that's just me, and maybe that's me being a bit harsh. Right, let's move into the midfield. So, Rich, you can have our right-sided midfielder, Adam Wharton.
Is there Daniel Munoz?
Yeah, I was about to say, what about Munoz?
Oh, have I not done Munoz? Sorry, Rich, Munoz. So
Lovely, 10. Get a nice easy one. He gets a 10.
I started with...
and you know what's crazy?
Yeah.
his 10 ain't actually for his goals and assists. I think it's, for me personally, for him to match Doku in that cup final, and don't get me wrong, Doku did get like by him at times, but he matched him stride for stride, 100 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, Doku is a problem. His end product may be rubbish, but my God, can that kid dribble? And Munoz was with him every step of the way. So that alone gets him a 10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that's fair enough. Nikki, back to you. Adam Wharton.
Adam Wharton. It's almost a tale of two. It's almost a tale of two halves. For Adam Wharton, obviously, because obviously he had the injury that the club did not manage well. We've had this story so many times before, where a player gets injured and is rushed back at the wrong time, and has to go out for a prolonged period of time. I think if you're going off of before New Year's, we had to just make the decision that he had to sit out the season, or sit out that part of the season. Sorry, but when he came back, took a while just to get back up to form, but then he became that reliable. For me, I think a solid 8 for Adam Wharton.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I kind of had an 8 in mind as well. Our other midfielder, but I'm going to go with the midfielder who's played more minutes this season for this first one. So, Patrick, you've got Will Hughes.
I was leaning towards an 8 because a lot of people during the course of the season talked about he could possibly be our player of the season. But when you see how well Lerma and then Kamada did in there with Wharton, I'm going to actually give him a 7 because I think he had a very solid season. He was very important when Wharton went down, was very important for us, and is a massive player to have in the squad. But I think the way Glasner was able to use both the Lerma and later on Kamada in that role with Wharton somewhat diminished his effect. But I think Hughes had a very important season, especially like I said, when Wharton was down, we wouldn't have gotten through a lot of those matches in the middle of the season without Hughes being there. So I'm going to give him a 7.
Yeah, I
could be an 8. Could be an 8 though. Could be an 8. Could be an 8.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair enough. Our right-sided 10, Tim, Ismail Assar.
Oh boy, what a season! Slow start, so I'm not going to give him a 10, but the things that he managed, I'm going to give him a 9 because 20 goal contributions in all competitions. That is actually, if I please correct me on my stats here, I think that is more than Michael Elise had last season, the prior season. That's not to say I'm not trying to compare a future Ballon d'Or winner, which I believe that Elise will be, to Sarr. They're two different players, but the right-sided attack as it grew in this season was, again, it was a joy to watch, and the way that he combined with Munoz was really fun. And I think his development and Munoz's development aided Richards as well. He was a supremely influential player, and he scored some phenomenal goals. So I don't think this season becomes what it is without the development of Ismail Sarr. What a player he has proven to be. And by the way, he's objectively amongst just across the league. I don't know how he isn't in the conversation for top 10 signings across any team of the season in the past year, just in terms of value for money. What a return we've gotten from him. So yeah, 9 for me.
The amount of time that been after him.
Tim, just to mention Olise, you're right. He did have more. Olise had 10 and 6, but that was in 19 matches, by the way.
Yeah, I'm saying, it's not fair because I think Elise is a Ballon d'Or winner, and I don't think that of Sarr. But just I thought we would be in real trouble on the right side of attack, and it turned out that was the most lethal side of our attack this season,
which ended up freeing up Ebbs.
Yeah,
100%.
Absolutely.
Fun fact, by the way, just before Dan. Hughes is not the midfielder with the most minutes.
Is he not?
It's Jefferson.
Is it
Lerma,
really?
yeah, because he
But,
played
but
centre
have,
back.
have those all
Yeah.
been at minutes though? Have those all
Yeah.
been at midfield though?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 2,800
Shit.
minutes.
Oh wow, fair enough. Oh, we'll come back to him in a minute. But and also it's Ismaila Sarr 8 goals in the Premier League this season. That's more goals than Morgan Gibbs-White, Heung-min Son, Phil Foden, Alejandro Garnacho, Anthony Gordon, Diogo Jota, Minty, if that's his name. He's got more goals than Bukayo Saka in the Premier League this season, although Saka obviously was injured for a number of it. And Jordan Ayew. Moving on.
Oh,
Harsh.
Never sing that.
that's
Never sing that.
harsh.
You'll never sing that.
No, I love Jordan Ayew. Left-sided 10 chairman Eze.
Yeah, it's funny really because he had if you break the scene down to 2 parts, because we set such high examples for him. I thought the first half of the season he was sort of average, still doing well, but in our eyes, the second half season was sensational. So you've got to say he's a 9.
Yeah,
I think if he had a second half season at the start, I think he'd have come to a bit of a 10. But yeah, fabulous. Yeah, 9 for me. Yeah, brilliant.
yeah, that's fair. And then we'll talk. We'll have a tactical review on Tuesday, and I think part of the reason maybe his first half season wasn't as good, I think, was a tactical thing.
Absolutely.
But we'll talk about that a bit more on Tuesday. Anyway, up front we have. I've got Jean-Philippe Mateta.
Oh, how well worked.
I mean, what a guy! I mean, it's probably one of the most ridiculous rises in the last few years of any Premier League player. I mean, a couple of years ago, I was thinking this guy's given me hope of a late Premier League appearance. And now, I mean, look at him. Don't necessarily think he's a 10 this season, but because I think he did have quite a slow start to the season, not necessarily his fault. But I think ever since then, I think he's been on fire. So not 9 for me. Right, now let's go round to the players who played a slightly different part. I know this is Remy Matthews, but I didn't see Matt Turner there. Rich, you can have Matt Turner.
Yeah, I would have known where to put Remy Matthews. He didn't play.
No, I was gonna use his thumbnail as a Matt Turner one, but
I would have given Matt. I'm torn between 6 and 7. 6 because of the minutes played, but 7 because when he did play, I don't think he did bad.
yeah.
Go 7. Let's go 7. Let's base it on when he did
Case
play.
in
I think he
point,
played well.
4 appearances, 2 clean sheets.
Yeah,
I'll go
that's
7.
fair enough.
All in the cup, yeah.
Nikki, you can have. So we'll start with the defenders. You can have maybe a slightly unfortunate one, Chadi Riyad.
It is unfortunate, obviously, with 2 injuries that took him up for prolonged periods of time. Obviously, I'm not sure when the schedule for Chadi is to come back.
I think it's January at the moment.
Yeah, I think he's out pretty much until for the rest of 2025, unfortunately. But yeah, it's not due to his injury. Okay, I want to put that on, but I think looking at what he could do, but it's a 5.
Yeah,
because I just haven't seen him enough. But
it's a shame because I think when he did play, I did think he was quite good. But obviously, he's barely played this season, so that's fair. Right, Patrick, you can have Nathaniel Klein.
He hardly played. When he came in, he was okay. I'd give him a 5.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough.
Give me Jefferson Lerma. Come on.
You want Lerma? Okay, you can have Lerma.
All right, I'm going to give him an 8, and I want to explain why, because I think of all of the players who came in and did a job for us this season, he showed the most positional flexibility.
Yep.
He filled every gap he was asked to fill and did it absolutely superbly. In fact, I would say by the end of the season, I thought he was a better center back than he was midfielder.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought that is shocking that we could say that, but he was outstanding. what a player he's been this season. He has his moments where, you know, his passing can let him down a lot, but his long passing isn't all that bad. And boy, he provides some real defensive solidity in the side. I thought he was absolutely superb this season.
Yep, 42 starts, 31 of those were 42 appearances, 31 of those were starts. On only just the one assist, so he's not on the score sheet this season for us. Unlike his first season where he scored that absolute beauty against Chelsea.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think as well, Lerma gives a good aerial presence as well. I think you don't miss that when he steps in the back line.
And it's experience too.
And I think the biggest testament is the cup final when Gahey went out. I didn't even realize there was no drop off. Lerma was brilliant in the whole half, Patrick. And he was brilliant in the final. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, Gahey's probably our best defender. He is our best defender. Let's just be honest. And when he came out, I was really worried. And I honestly watched it back so many times. Lerma makes so many important stops, blocks. Mm-hmm. He has been brilliant this season. Really has been great player to have in the squad.
That's a great point, Patrick. Yep.
Right, Chairman, you can have Trevor Chalobah.
Well, he did really well when he first came. Scored 3 goals.
He did.
But did make a lot of mistakes as well. But I thought it was pretty solid. And I think him coming in actually sort of was a springboard of actually us going up the league. So I would say 8 for me.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair enough. Right, I've saved myself Joel Ward, who's going to get a 10, and there'll be no arguments.
There will be no argument about that.
Love that.
He's the only player left still. You know, when we bought him in the Championship, £400,000.
Absolutely.
He cleared the ball off the line in the final
and still us. Never lost to the Seaweed. Still never lost.
Yeah, he lost to the Seaweed. He leaves Palace undefeated against Brighton, which is just a funny stat.
It's banter.
And I'm looking forward to the testimonial, which hopefully will be against Pompey. But yeah,
is that actually still scheduled to happen?
I think he will get a testimonial at some point.
Okay,
it would just make sense that he's Pompey because that's where we bought him from, and he came through their academy. But yeah, captain fantastic all these years. Mm-hmm. Maybe played right back a lot more than he should have, especially in his latter years. But he's a hero.
Dan, I can see you've intentionally set me up here.
Have I?
You're giving me Eddie and Katie, aren't you?
No, because I'll go for the midfield first.
All right.
Yeah, you can have Kamada.
I'm going to put Kamada as a 7.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
He obviously struggled. He found it difficult. Granted, he was played in multiple positions, which didn't help. But I tell you what, and this might actually be the way going forward, just having 2 players in the middle of the park that plays the ball quicker.
Yeah.
So I'm throwing my hat out. I know this is more for tomorrow, but Angel Gomez is a free transfer. Just saying. But see, 7 for Nige.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think because I think he had a bit of a terrible beginning of the season, but I mean he dropped some really good performances in the latter end. Nikki, you can have Mr. Sheck Decore.
I'm going to go for a 6. The reason being, obviously, got injured. Thankfully, he is back in training. I think just after the FA Cup final, he was seen in training. Been moving around pretty well. Good. We spoke his influence when he came on the bench, came off the bench against Chelsea. Hopefully we do get the Czech that we know and love when the season starts again proper.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
just a heads up as well. I do agree with that. He needs to be higher.
We do. We'll come back to it. We can come back to it.
Ooh, okay. So who do we have left? Now, there are obviously a couple players on here who I am going to ignore and use their thumbnail for someone else. So actually, I'm going to give... This isn't Jeffrey Schlupp, Patrick. This is Justin Devaney.
I give Devaney 7. First season as a first team player at Palace. Got the goal against Villa, big moment. The goal against Doncaster in the cup. What I love about Glasner is the way that he used him. Started in some matches, but a lot of times, he put him in the last 50 minutes of a match to see out a game. There was not one time that he ever made a mistake in the game. Remember last year he put Ozo in against Bournemouth, made that mistake, cost us the game. Devaney would come on, and he got better as the season went on. He's a very good passer. I go back to like the Forest match, the Spurs game, the Wolves game. He is a very good progressive passer. He's a natural 10, not a wide 10. I think he'll get more chances next season, probably middle of the park. But I thought he had a solid first season. I'm really glad to see that Glasgow used him as much. I think it bodes well for the other academy players. But I think Devaney had a solid 7 season this year.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I was really, really impressed in the latter games towards the end. I can't remember what game was. It the Wolves game. I thought he was really good in that game.
Yeah, I agree.
Right, Chairman. This isn't the amazing Rob Holding.
Oh, damn!
This is Chile.
It's who?
Ben
Chilwell.
Oh, Ben Chilwell.
I mean, to be fair, he was quite forgettable, so I'll let you off.
To be fair, though, when he did come on, which it wasn't very often, because obviously, as somebody else alluded to earlier, and when we got him, Mitchell's game improved dramatically. But I thought he didn't let us down in any way, shape, or form when he did come on. I don't think he's a very good defender, though, to be honest with you. I think he's great going forward, so 7 for me.
Okay.
I agree with that.
I'd probably put him a bit lower, to be fair, but yeah, that's fair. Right, who do we have left? Right, I'm going to give myself one of my favourite players.
Yeah, I knew he would. I knew he'd do this. Rich, you're getting
What a cheat.
No. Rich isn't getting Nketiah. Actually, in fact, Nikki, you're getting Nketiah, actually.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I can.
Right, Matthias, what can I say? I think he deserves... No, I think he's had an okay season. I'm going to put him down in a 6 because I think he's had an okay season. I think when he's come on, I think he has looked bright. Obviously, he had a lot of injury problems, I think, at the beginning of the season. And I think he's kind of playing catch up a little bit, in my opinion. I think as well, I don't think he plays as much as maybe you'd expect because I think Glasner really likes players who are very good out of possession. And I don't think he's quite there yet. And I think that's probably why we haven't seen him as much. But when he has come on, he's always looked really direct. He obviously got us a point at the end of Southampton. He's got a fantastic chant as well. He's still only 21, so if he has a good season next season, then he can always improve on that. But I think a 6 is fair. Rich, this isn't Remy Matthews. This is Romain Esse.
These players look so different this season. Wow.
I know we said that we'll discuss making changes afterwards, but yeah, your bubble's going to be burst because I was going to put Esse as a 6 and your Brazilian superstars a 5, but yeah, 6 for me.
Yeah, fair enough. Nikki.
Eddie Nketiah. Oh, right. 7 goals, which is 7 goals, 2 assists. That's great. It's just you look at value. You look at the value for money. You look at just how long it took him to score. I mean, he didn't get his first goal for us until QPR, and then I can't remember what game he got in the league. It was December-ish, around about that time, we actually got a goal for us in the league.
First league goal was Villa.
It was Villa.
Villa 4-1.
Thank you.
I was there for both the QPR and Villa games. I saw his first cup goal and first league goal.
6.
The diving was good, though, wasn't it?
It's harsh, I think, but 6 for me.
If he's an Olympic diver, he'll get 9.5.
I don't think that's harsh at all.
I don't think that's harsh. I think, to be honest, I think even a 5 would have been fair. Because I think if he's had a bit of a weird season, but I'm kind of banking on the idea that maybe he'll improve. But we'll see.
Well, I just
Patrick?
if you look at the if you look at the stats, so 16 there were 16 unscored goals from the XG. So we should have scored something like 67 goals this season if you followed the
Yeah.
XG nonsense. A lot of that comes from Nketiah. So you could easily have him
It's
as
his
a five.
shot
I think
choice that's just always frustrated me, especially in Brighton away, where he could have scored there and got us an even bigger goal margin, and he just gets it all wrong. So I think he just need. We were all
he's good.
speaking that
He's
he
good.
just
He's
needs a
gonna come
confidence
good.
boost, but when he is
Yeah.
scoring and then he still makes the same mistakes, what is your confidence saying, mate? Just do the job that we pay you for and score a bloody goal. It's not that hard when you play up against the likes of Jean-Philippe Mateta, who scores for fun, and then we've got Nketiah, who's like panics. So I don't know.
He'll come.
Dan, before you go to me on the last one, I think people have been incredibly harsh on Nketiah. I'm not even a big
I
Nketiah fan. I think the fee is people worry about the fee. Why do you care? It's not your money. And
Yep.
two, he played out of position a lot beginning of the season. He played as a 10. He's not a 10.
100%.
And again, he had to play in front of him. He scored 17 goals. He was never going to play in front of Mateta. So when he came on, it was going to be a Wolf situation where we're resting Mateta, he gets 2 goals, or he's going to come on late. I think Nketiah had an okay season. Yes, he could have scored more goals. People want to pick on the misses, and I get that. As a striker, you always pick out the misses. But I thought, honestly, for him to get 7 goals and 2 assists in this season under the pressure he was under, I think he didn't have a bad season at all. I'm not risking with the 6, by the way. I'm just saying that the fee and the misses, people just they harp on that way too much for me. I think that's it, but that's just me. And again, I'm not even a big fan of his. I'm not even a massive fan. I just think he's been overly.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
season.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Right, Patrick. Possibly the easiest rating of the.
100. Is there 100 on his board? I give him 100. I give him a 10. I mean, listen, the manager. I mean, what can you say? Had a tough start to the season, stuck to his principles, kept the 3-4-2-1 going all season, made players like Sarr better, Munoz better. When Wharton was down, he figured out a way to get Hughes and Lerma playing well. Then at the end of the season, when everyone killed Kamada all season, got Kamada to go in the midfield with Wharton, and that made us so much better. Rich was mentioning about the progressive passing, the passing forward that Kamada offers, the breakup of play, the hold up play, and the link up play with Mateta. Took us on a tremendous cup run, won the cup. Played some younger players. Would have liked to see more out of SA and France, but I get why he didn't play them. Doesn't give you minutes for minutes' sake. I think he has had a brilliant season. The speech after the Villa game, the Villa Cup final game was, man, I've watched that like a million times. It's such a great speech, the way he talks. Then the one he does in the final when he talks about Wardy. He's just a great manager. I watched the high performance interview he did, the hour and a half. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. He talks about his principles when he had the brain hemorrhage and everything, how he got into management, how he deals with players. I mean, he's just tremendous. I mean, not only is a great manager, which most managers can be, but he's also a tactically brilliant manager. We lost Chalobah and he put Lerma back there. I mean, listen, and Richards, I think he's been brilliant all year. I'm so happy as our manager. If he leaves, honestly, he did what I wanted him to do, win us a cup. He'll leave with, to me, being and I've seen, my chairman, I've seen every manager from Bert Head to Malcolm Allison to Terry Venables, all the way up to now Oliver Glasner, and he is by far the best manager I've ever seen at Palace. And I'm going to miss him when he leaves, but I don't care because he got me the cup. That's all I've ever wanted. So 10 for him, 10 plus, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10.
I think that's spot on. So what are we thinking?
Will Hughes goes up. Will Hughes goes up straight away.
Yeah.
Please. It's. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Who are the 2 and 5? It's Riyadh
and Klein.
Yeah, and this is not because of the fact they just put them both down, just because they ain't played.
What, to fours?
Yeah, I mean, if there wasn't a non-NA, I would have put them in as an NA. France, I put down to 5.
Oh.
Thank you.
If he had better boots, he'd be a 6.
To be fair with France,
justice for Matthias.
He played 63 minutes this year, scored won a penalty, got an assist.
Yeah.
Did he win the penalty? What was it?
I've read this somewhere, but I don't know where he won the penalty. He won the penalty.
The penalty and the assist was against Burnley the season before.
Last
was it the season before?
Well,
Fair enough then.
Yeah, so only 63 minutes.
Make him a free then. We're joking.
Yeah,
I'm getting triggered.
Right. I think that brings everything to a close, actually. Yeah.
Can I give you my Mark take now, super quick, before we go?
Go on.
So here's my hot take. I don't care if Mark signs a new deal. I don't care. In fact, if I were Glasner and I were Paris, I'd say, Mark, look, we're not going to pressure you here. We want you here. If we would love to sign you on a new deal, but if you don't want to do it, we will support you playing this whole season. If you want to go on a free at the end of the season, you've got our blessing. But what we need from you is to be our captain during this Europa League run. We need you for that. We need you all in. And we know Mark, we know he would be all in. He would absolutely give everything to try to lift that trophy. And if he chooses to go, that's fine. And here's why. If we were going to sell Mark, we're probably getting, I'm going to guess, somewhere around 55 million. If you do that, Chelsea's going to get 20%, and that's on profit, right? So profit's going to be 35 million. So you're going to pay like 7 million to Chelsea. You're going to end up, let's call it 40 million, roughly, after agents' fees, after everything else. You're going to end up somewhere in the 40 to 45 million range. You win the Europa League, that's 40 to 45 million right there. You get to the Champions League, that's another 60 million minimum. So could you get maybe 40 to 45 million right now? Or do you give yourself the best chance possible for us as fans to dream about another cup that we actually have I'm not going to say a dead-on chance of winning, but we're going to have a real chance of winning. Chairman said this earlier. We're going to be one of the richest clubs to compete in that competition. I want my captain. I want my captain for that. I think it's worth it. You might lose. You might lose 40 to 45 million in profit. I don't care. The Europa League is a competition where we can get a lot of money from that if we go deep. And if we win it, we could end up getting an additional 100 million pounds, which would change everything for Palace. So I don't care, Mark. If you want to go on a free after this season, fair enough. Help us win the Europa League. Stay and help us win the Europa League. And if we do, then you have a conversation to be had about, hey, Mark, you want to play the Champions League next season with us?
That's a good point.
That's my hot take.
No, absolutely. Right. I'm mindful of time, so we're going to end it there. The poll regarding would you sack a manager with 2 defeats, 6 draws, 2 wins, 6 draws, 6 defeats. I know context obviously played a massive part. That is a massive 68% said no. And it's a good thing because that's the decision we took in not sacking Oliver Glasner. And look at what's happened. We are FA Cup winners. Tim, Patrick, appreciate you obviously joining us. Guys, make sure you follow and subscribe back in the nest if you haven't done so already. And yeah, we're back tomorrow with our Transfer Weekly live. We do the first one live. The ones after that will be pre-recorded videos with a focus on keep, buy, sell, loan. So that will be the kind of premise of it. And then Tuesday is Tactical. And once again, guys, and after the show, go back into the comment section and spam it with congrats, JC and Ria.
There you go.
Up the Palace.
Up the Palace.
Up the Palace.
Eagles.